Alright, this video is to explain how to pull the longitudinal reports for a classroom or a school, and that way you could compare either your school's growth or your classroom's growth to either your school or your district. So to do that, we're going to log into Master Manager and we're going to go to Reports up here, this button, Reports. And we're going to click on Longitudinal Comparison Reports. And there's basically three steps we've got to walk through: method, standards, demo, and report. We're going to leave this as it is. Select standards from assessments. You could select assessments from standards. That's the opposite. So what we're going to do is we're going to find assessments we're interested in, and then we're going to select the standards based on those assessments. You could also go the other way. So that's what this radio button is for. We're going to leave it as it is. We're going to find the assessments we're interested in. I'm just going to I'll use 6th grade this time. So 6th grade module 1, I want the PMA, the pre, the mid, and the end. So this is the grade 6 mod 1 PMA, pre-module assessment, MMA, mid-module assessment, and EMA, end-module assessment. I click the Select Assessments button, and then I'm going to select all standards. And that means it doesn't matter if the standard is on just one test, 2 tests, or all 3 tests. It's going to pull every standard that's on any of these tests, and I'm going to select all of them. Then I'm going to go Next. You'll likely have less options here. But essentially what I'm going to do is select the pre-module, add it, mid-module, add it, end-module, add it. And what that does is it creates 3 separate groups. One group for the pre, one for the mid, and one for the end. And I do it in this order because then it shows up from left to right on the graph: pre, mid, end. If you're doing this, you can select. If you just do this, you'll get just your school's data. If you select individual teachers, you can get individual teacher data. Teachers can only see their data. So if you do exactly this, just as I did as a teacher, you'll just see your data. If you do this as a principal, you'll see your whole school's data. Then I'm going to hit Next. And boom, here's our report. And it shows, the first thing is the average score, the first graph. So it's not that useful. It shows you how well overall kids did on each test. Strikingly, students are getting 40%, which is close to 2 out of 4 on their pre-tests. That's interesting. Also notice there's only 198 students in this group. That means we're missing a lot of data in 6th grade. Actually, no, I take that back. That doesn't mean that. The 6th grade group only has 6th grade Math 1 right now, which that's probably pretty close. It's probably a few more students in that, but it's probably pretty close. Sorry about that. The next charts show you better, like what's going on. So this particular standard, it shows you this is the percent of students that have mastered that standard on the pretest, percent of students mastering on the mid-mod, percent of students mastering on the end-mod. The fact that this goes down between these two is interesting. I'm not sure what it means. It might mean that the questions on the end-mod test are more difficult. Going deeper into that standard, not sure. It's not in a couple places, but it doesn't happen very often. The other thing you might see is if the mid-mod or any of the other tests has a 0 like this, doesn't mean necessarily that 0% of students got to demonstrate master that standard. I'd say that's probably pretty unlikely. More likely is the case here where it shows group 2, group 1 has 198 students, group 2 has 0 students. What that means is for this standard, it's not on the mid-mod test. So there is no data there. There's no student data to actually make a bar because this standard is not on this test. So you would just look from pre to end here to see growth on that particular standard. And that happens on the end mod sometimes too. Like an item or a standard will be tested on the pre and the mid, but won't be on the end. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. All right, so that's how to pull the longitudinal comparison report to see large scale data with your whole class.